effective way to start the study of the economics of disasters is to let students wrestle with an economic mystery. We hear all the time that disasters are good for the economy. So, are they? The mystery format developed by the National Council on Economic Education is a good pedagogy for getting students involved in a new topic of study. It piques their curiosity and it gives them a non-threatening environment to get their thoughts and opinions out in the open. In this particular mystery, they have to wrestle with data and evidence, often seemingly conflicting evidence, from real disasters in order to arrive at a group conclusion. The Are Disasters Good for the Economy activity is available for download from the FTE Economics of Disasters website. Look for the Activities menu tab, and it's the first item on the pull-down menu. The activity file, which can be downloaded for editing in Word format or printed from the screen as you see it, includes vocabulary, procedures, appropriate national voluntary content standards, and all the activity handouts and materials. For this activity, you'll find a set of clues with data from disasters of the recent and not so recent past. Some are quotes from analysts and commentators, and others are statistical data or charts. To prepare, run off the clue sheets on as many different colors of paper as you'll have discussion groups. Keep the discussion groups small, 3 to no more than about 6 students, so that no one can be easily left out. Cut the clues into strips and staple together the sets of clues by color. So for example, if there are 10 clues, the yellow set should have clues number 1 through 10, and the pink set should have clues number 1 through 10, and so forth. Staple the sets of strips together so that you have one set per discussion group. Put the students in groups and go over the instructions before handing out the clues. First, tell them to remove the staple and distribute the clues as evenly as possible among the group members. Their task is to solve the mystery using the following procedure. First, share the clues round robin. After each person reads his or her clue, decide whether it's helpful, not helpful, or you just don't know, and put the clues in the relevant piles. And it's okay to move the clues from pile to pile if you change your minds later on. Once you've separated the relevant clues, solve the mystery. Answer the question of whether or not disasters are good for the economy. And then decide how many, or actually how few, clues you need to support your conclusion. I often use the format of that old Name That Tune game show. Remember when the contestants say, "I can name that tune in 2 notes." Well, here, if you want to run the activity as a team contest, the winning team is the one that can solve the mystery with the fewest clues. Before you distribute the clues and turn the students loose, give them 2 helpful hints. First, assure them that all the clues are true. They're just trying to figure out what's important, not what's true. And then let them know ahead of time that the clues for this mystery involve 3 disasters. And if you don't expect your students to be familiar with all 3 of these events, just list them on the board and put down the appropriate time period. After allowing time for discussion, ask the teams for their solutions and then declare a winner if you've run the activity as a contest. I would make sure to do all of this before the debriefing, or they're not going to pay attention. Use the debriefing to reinforce economic terminology and concepts. In this case, the importance of understanding the distinction between the output of an economy and the standard of living of its citizens. The debriefing is also a good chance to reinforce student skills in evaluating source material by looking at the nature of the evidence offered in particular clues. Having dealt with the mystery, the students should now be ready to look at the evidence in more detail and to use the tools of economic reasoning to figure out why, if disasters aren't good for the economy, we often hear that they are. This is a question you already answered. Are disasters good for the economy? You have a set of clues, and you probably need a group of 4 or 5 people. There are 10 clues, and you want everybody to have 1 or 2, maybe 3. Okay, you probably don't want to do this just by yourself. So get in a group with the people that have the same color clues and distribute those around. Share them around.
And what you're going to talk about these clues is first I would like you to sort them into piles. Kind of say, okay, I think this one is important. I think this one's not relevant. I'm not sure about this one. And then you can talk about the clues and decide where they go into the different piles. Now, it's important that everyone has his or her own clues. And just from a teaching standpoint, you don't want to hand these out and the kids give all the clues to the smart kid, right? Here, you do it. Okay. This is one of those things where you need the kids to have the clues in their hands. And they have to go around and talk about their clues and decide whether or not we think this clue goes in which file. Ultimately, what you're going to try to do is to answer the question, but the challenge is, I want to know how many clues it takes you to answer the question. So it's kind of like that old game show about, I can tell you that song I can name that song in 3 notes. All right, so if you can name or solve that mystery in 2 clues, that's better than solving it in 1 or in 3. Couple things to tell you. First of all the clues are true, right? And when you're making activities like this, that's the kiss of death. If you ever put in a clue that isn't true, then you're done. Because every time you put another mystery out there, the kids think you're trying to pull their legs, and they're trying to figure out which clues aren't true and that kind of thing. So all the clues are true. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that not all the clues are equally important. Not all the clues are relevant. Okay? Now, you will find that in these 10 clues, you are dealing with 3 historical disasters. And you'll be able to tell those just by the general time period. The Black Death, okay? The Spanish influenza, particularly in the United States in 1918, 1919, and then Hurricane Katrina. Okay, so go ahead and get into groups and distribute the clues around and begin sharing. Okay, I am going to interrupt you because I know it would take more time to do this in your classroom, but I've begun to hear some of the results that I would like to hear. So there are a lot of ways to debrief this in the classroom. You can go through clue by clue. You can let some groups make a presentation and others challenge them. You can do I can solve it in 4 clues, 3 clues, etc. Okay? But what I heard in the discussions and what I wanted to hear is some confusion or conflict, if you will, between what happens to standard of living and what happens to total output. Okay? I mean, and I'm not sure that all of you got to the point where you had clarified that distinction, but you were saying things like, well, the GDP went down or it didn't grow as fast. I wonder if it would have grown faster if it hadn't had this setback. Others were saying, yeah, but look at what happened to these people's wages. It seems like things are better off for those people. So that's kind of a dichotomy that we have, and we have to resolve that, and it's the key to answering this question. Right, so instead of actually giving you a right answer, and I have to say, I don't know that there is a right answer. It depends partly on how much economics your kids have had. Because it may take a group of kids with a good background in economic reasoning, they can look at one clue and say, GDP fell. What else is there to say? Right? But if you have kids that are just beginning and aren't clear on terminology or concepts, it may take them more clues in order to sort that out. So the purpose in this whole thing is the discussion, is that as they're putting forth these clues, other kids are challenging them or they're having to challenge it themselves in their groups.